Hi, everyone. I'm Paul Witcover, the Associate Dean of the Online MFA, and I'm here at tonight's Wireside Chat with my co-host, Melissa Hart, who is, as most of you know, an adjunct instructor in the program, and our guest tonight, who is Dr. Lisa Wood, who is also an adjunct instructor and many other things besides. Lisa wears many hats, and that's part of what we'll be talking about tonight. Let me just give you an intro to our guest, and then we'll start talking. Dr. Lisa Wood is an adjunct professor and team lead in the Master's in Fine Arts program at SNHU. She has a PhD in creative writing, an MFA in speculative fiction, and a BA in communications film production. Wood is the vice president of the Horror Writers Association, the founder of the Speculative Fiction Academy, and a frequent contributor to the conversation around the evolution of genre fiction. As psychological horror author L. Marie Wood, she is a prolific author with 13 published works, including novels, novellas, short stories, and poetry. This two-time Bram Stoker Award finalist, Ristling-nominated poet, and accomplished essayist won the Golden Stake Award for her novel The Promise Keeper, as well as over 50 national and international screenplay and film awards. Lisa, I feel like you are probably one of the most, if not the most prolific writer I know. I feel like, in fact, since I read your biography, probably another novel or book of poetry has come out.
Yes, actually. I was just thinking, I need to update that.
So I was right.
Yeah.
So what is the secret? Tell us, what is the secret to this incredible productivity?
Unfortunately, it's writer's block. I mean, I honestly, I took 2 really long breaks, since I've been writing. I've been writing since I was 5 years old, mind you. None of the stuff you're reading now is from that time period, and you don't want to see that stuff. That's not. But it's when I went to college, I took a break. I did the silly thing of being exempt from English, and I said, sure, that means I don't have to do anything. And so I literally didn't. I went into my film production degree, and at that time I didn't realize I wanted to write screenplays. I thought I wanted to actually shoot the movie, and that's not for me. I can't light. I mean, per our conversation before getting on here, I couldn't light myself in this room that I sit in all the time. So I really don't, that wasn't for me. And I didn't realize I liked the actual, process of writing screenplays until I was almost out of undergrad. So I took a 4+ year break on writing at that point. And then the second break, and then when I came back into it, I started writing screenplays. But then when I took another break, I was starting my family, and I write psychological horror. So, if you've ever seen those video games, like my favorite is Resident Evil, but it could be anything, just any one of those games where you have a player and the player's just standing there waiting for you to actually do something. So they start sort of like just like fidgeting and stuff. And so I would envision, this beast or whatever, doing that near my children's cribs. And I'm like, yeah, I can't write that stuff. I just can't write. And I had writer's block for about, oh my gosh, I would dare say 6-7 years, which was painful. I mean, physically painful. And I wrote other things. I wrote gardening articles for a local newspaper, which is hilarious because I don't garden. I really had so much research to do, but I really wanted to, keep writing. But I had block. And then when I got it back, it's like my youngest was like, fine. She was, oh my God, maybe she was 5 years old, maybe 4. She was fine. I didn't worry about it anymore. All of a sudden, everything just came falling out of me. So prior to that second block, I had written 2 novels and 3 short story collections. And then from there, and 2 screenplays. From there, I said, I've got to make up for lost time. And I've just been going at it since then.
That's incredible. I mean, your pre-block productivity, I mean, the second block, that would be enough for most writers their whole career. And for you, it was just kind of a temporary stumbling block. But, the writer's block that you experienced then, it strikes me that it was so intimately related to your children, right? And your relationship with your children and your relationship with your own imagination. And I feel like maybe that's something we can talk about a little bit, which is the intersection of having a family, being a parent, and being a writer. As we all know, when a writer has to follow their imagination wherever it may lead, and if you're writing horror, that may lead into some dark places, but then your family is there. So,
Right.
I can see that the writer's block that you experienced was in a way was a kind of a self-imposed I don't know, safety net in some ways, what it sounds like. So I've talked too much about this, but let's throw this idea around a little bit and see where it comes in. Melissa, you have a lot to contribute here too.
I will be honest, I was afraid that it wasn't going to come back. I knew that I could write. I was, like I said, I was writing these gardening. Really, they should have stopped me. But I was writing these things, and I was still able to write, but I didn't love that. I was just kind of doing it. I was terrified I wasn't going to get back to my writing because, if I could see early on it was related to the kids. And I thought, well, I'm going to have them, for their lives. So what does that mean? Will I never be able to put an adult through the paces of whatever might be in horror fiction because I have children that are adults at some point, you know what I mean? So I just kept thinking, at what stage did this break for me? And I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything in particular. I just kind of said, stop worrying about it. Keep writing these gardening articles until they give you the boot. And I just stayed on and kept doing it. And I thought, my agent at the time was like, well, why don't you write a thriller? And I thought, cool, except that's even worse because my monsters are not real. Thrillers are full of people who are like real monsters. So it was terrifying there, but I tried. I did okay. The piece that I wrote was fine. And I'm happy that I did it because it kept the practice going. But I was nervous. And I still can't watch certain movies with certain themes. And that's interesting, I think. I can't watch torture at all. Not that I was watching torture, but, I didn't turn off, let me clear that up right now. But I didn't turn off movies like Hostel back in the day before I had children. But now I'm like, cut that off. I'm not watching that. I just can't watch certain things anymore. And good thing is I wrote psychological horror, so it was quiet. It's the different end of the spectrum from that kind of stuff. So I wasn't impacted in that way. But I don't know. I don't think that because I didn't always write human monsters anyway, I'm not really worried about the fact that I'm not writing them now. I kind of gave myself some grace to just say, let's see what happens. But if it's going to come back, let's see how it comes back. And I just waited to see what happened. And I'm pleased with it because it's back to where it was. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't writing human monsters. I wasn't writing thrillers in the first place. So give me a vampire, that's still fine. It also helps when my kids are like, they love, we were watching horror movies. I didn't talk about horror stuff. It would have been like, if someone had told them their mom was a horror author, they would have been like, what? Are you kidding? But they gravitated to the scarier cartoon movie, like Coraline. That's terrifying. What? And they gravitate to that. And I'm like, well, maybe it's all right. I don't know.
Maybe there's something to this genetics business after all.
Could be really. And I just felt that once, I don't know what happened. I wish I could put my finger on how or why or what changed. But one day I was like, yeah, I have an idea. I'm just going to write it down. And it just came out. And I'm like, excellent. Thank goodness it's back. I really, the rejoicing is real.
I can imagine that was a real relief.
Yeah.
Melissa, have you ever experienced anything like that?
I have to unmute myself again. Sorry, seasonal allergies in Oregon are
gosh.
Monstrous. Yeah, writing as a parent is super hard. And I was just looking for an article I had written for the Writer magazine on productivity hacks, because I got to talk to lots of really well-known author parents about how to stay productive, especially during the pandemic, and compiled them all into this nonfiction article. So I'll find it in just a minute. But for me, it just really helps to carve out a couple of hours that are non-negotiable and, apply butt to chair and do the work. I do love, on a practical note, the Pomodoro method that a lot of people talk about, where you set your alarm for 25 or 30 minutes and just do a writing sprint and then reward yourself with a 5-minute break off the computer, outside, go pet your cat or walk your dog or something, and do it all again 3 more times. And then you get a half-hour break as a reward, which is very exciting.
Where
Yeah,
does
I actually cannot do that. Isn't that weird? I can't do that at all. I'm a pantser. So I just have to write whenever I feel like it's going to happen. Often, thank goodness, it happens in the middle of the night and the kids are asleep. So I can just do what I have to do. But sometimes it does happen midday and I'm like, well, it's got to get done. You know, I don't know. Oh, pantsers. I'm a complete pantser. Tell me, oh, I can't. I cannot outline. I can't. I am just not. Rules are a problem I'm seeing. I'm just starting to identify this right now.
I want to know the
But Lisa,
strangest.
you're teaching outlining in some of your course. It's like
I know.
it's like gardening.
I know. And what's funny is I can swear that Melissa and I have talked about this. And but we have, right? Like, it's like sometimes I'm just like, oh, I cannot take this. but it's, I mean, there are different ways to do it. And that's the beauty, I think, of writing. You can, yes, I'm going to teach you how to do an outline. Yeah, but okay, I'm also a pantser. So if you have a question, I'm going to answer that. You know, and it's nice that I can give both sides of it. So.
Lisa, I
Don't worry,
want
Paul, I'm
to
teaching them the thing.
I want to know where is the strangest place you've ever written as a parent?
Oh, Great Falls, Virginia, on the rocks, like sitting on the rocks.
Yeah.
That was hilarious because I wanted to go and I'd finally gotten everybody to just get up and let's go, you know? And I was like, yeah, but I got an idea. Oh no, I'm sitting on the rocks. And they're like walking around looking at things. So I'm like, just don't get in the water. This is hilarious. Don't get in the water because then it's all ruined. Okay, now I'm gonna go swimming for you. But I absolutely was like, I'm gonna sit here. You stay right there. I'm gonna write this down really quickly. And I did. I got like 10 minutes in, but 10 minutes actually meant a page and a half, which was really cool. Handwritten like back in the day. It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, what about you, Melissa? What would your answer to that be?
Oh my gosh. It was a 3-by-3-foot dressing room in my daughter's dance studio with little kids tap dancing right outside and thumping hip hop music. And it was ridiculous. But I had an hour of free time. So you got to do it. You got to sit down on the linoleum with the laptop and do your writing sprints. Otherwise, it's not going to get done.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah, those are good life lessons. So Lisa, let me switch gears a little bit because I mean, there's so many things I want to discuss with you that I think would be really great for our audience to hear about. But I also want to talk about like the relationship between screenwriting and writing a novel and how the two are different and how they feed into each other, if they do for you, and just like what's your favorite and stuff like that.
I think I've always been a novelist. It just gives you so much room to just, you know, make the characters do some different and cool things. You can really stretch out, if you will. Screenwriting is completely different. I mean, so as a novelist, we want to describe the color of the gray wall. If you can see between my bookshelf, there's like gray in between there. That is a specific shade, which I can't remember what it is, but it's a specific shade. But if it's not like elephant gray and it's not dark gray or slate gray or any of the, so if I want to describe that color for whatever reason, who knows why I would want to do that. But if it was important to the character, I have as many pages as I want to do that. In a screenplay, it is a gray wall, and really don't talk about the wall unless it's really, really important. It's just they're in a room and that's walled in, literally has nothing to do with anything. So you lose the ability to describe, you know, and some of that description is the beauty of being a novelist. You want to talk about someone thinking. I love talking about when people are sitting on a park bench and they're thinking about something, and people are walking by and they're having these deep thoughts, but it's all in their head. They're not saying anything. They look just like they're reading a book or reading the newspaper. Just dated myself, right? But they're looking at their cell phones, whatever. And you don't know what's going on in their head. In a screenplay, you literally don't know what's going on in their head. You can't film what's going on in their head. So you've got to be direct and write the filmable stuff. Anything else kind of feels like you would be doing a voiceover, and you don't see a whole lot of those movies anymore. Some that was popular in the late 80s, early 90s, where they would do this like cool little voiceover thing to give you what the character was thinking. You don't see that a whole lot. I'm not saying you can't see it. I'm just saying you don't see it. So, and even then you can't do it the whole movie. You've got to really be economical with your word choice and when you do that technique. So it's about the filmable stuff, which is not always the pretty stuff, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So which is my favorite? Definitely novels. Absolutely.
So a lot of times people think or say that, writing a screenplay is great practice or a great exercise of the dialogue writing muscle because you're writing, because that's your primary means of expression. That's what's got to, develop your character. That's what's got to move the plot along. To some degree, it's even helping with the setting and everything like that. Whereas dialogue in a novel is only one of many, craft elements that are at your disposal. But I'm wondering, is film dialogue the same as novel dialogue, only without the interiorization that's available to you as a writer in who writes novels, or is there some other difference, more fundamental difference between dialogue for movies and dialogue in novels?
See, I think they should be the same, to be honest. And I'll tell you why. When I write my novels, I include quite a bit of action, movement. I don't want to say action because it almost seems like that kind of brings the wrong thing to mind, but movement, if you will. So I want a conversation to be true to life. Like earlier, we were all talking at the same time about something exciting and we heard each other and it was fine. You can do the same thing in a book. You can do the same thing on screen and it serves the same purpose. It shows the same things. It shows people excited about a topic and not having an argument, just having a discussion. And sometimes I think that writers fall into the trap of this person says a full sentence here and then this person says a full sentence here. That's not real just dialogue. It just isn't. No one talks like that, And when you do that, you are eclipsing this natural interaction that you don't have to describe, you don't have to explain. If you just let people talk the way they normally would, it'll come out in the work and you'll see, oh, this family's a cohesive unit. Oh, this family loves to watch horror movies together, but they argue about what to eat for dinner. You can have all of that happen purely by the way that they talk. And you can do that in a book and you can do that in a screenplay. So I think they should be the same.
You spend a lot of time on your dialogue? Is that something you really labor over to get it to sound exactly right?
No, I'll tell you why. Because we cut, I've said that twice. I think that's my phrase of the night. I'll tell you why. Anyway, so I'm the New Yorker in my family group, right? I've been away from New York for so many years, but whatever, when you once a New Yorker, always, I was born there. That's what it is. Married a guy from Maryland. They are completely different types of people, really. And my kids are in the middle, just like what? So every conversation is full of my hands going like this and full of me talking and something's exciting and now I am hollering, but I'm not mad. I'm just like loudly speaking about something. And the Marylander is not doing that. That's just not the way that they converse. And I've been around a bunch of them. I'm always like, wow, that you guys really don't. It's really interesting. But I do. So I tend to think of my characters behaving a lot like me, and because I have these interactions with people who don't always communicate the same way that I do, I can just kind of draw upon my experience and I just let it come out. So if I've cut somebody off, it might really upset someone and they may really come away feeling like I was being disrespectful to them because I didn't let them finish, but I wasn't trying to. I was excited about what they were saying and I was in. But that conflict can be created right there. And now you've got two people thinking two different things. But it flows out because it's part of my natural experience. I think with anything, whatever it is, you as a writer you have got to bring in your personal experiences. That's not to say you bring in a scenario out of your life. It's to say that you bring in life, the life that you live, so that you can actually write about something with a comfort and an understanding that means that you don't have to go looking every single thing up, if that makes sense. Like if you like a specific brand of bread and you've labored over this bread in the bread aisle, There's nothing wrong with writing about that brand of bread. Nothing at all. Why not? There's a reason you like it. Describe it. That you can, and you'll. There's a reason you're describing it. If your scenario brings you to that space, describe it. What's the difference? That's not anything personal. Like really, that's not. Many people like the same brand of bread. You know what I mean? That's not a personal piece that you're diving into your personal life about, but you're adding your lived experience to the book, which makes it feel real to people. So no, the conversations that I've been quiet and listened to people having around me up this way, I'm not in Maryland now, but up that way, when I listen to them, they're so different from the conversations I have at home in New York with my family. And I had a roommate in college who was from California, and and I've got some friends even now that are from California, and just the way that we pace our conversations, it's so different, but it's beautiful because it's the thing I can pull from when I'm writing. So no, I don't spend a lot of time on it. It just kind of comes out.
Oh, Lisa, we have so many questions in the chat.
Good.
Go for it.
Can I ask a couple?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
When
absolutely.
you write, do you have the book planned before you start writing? Or do you start with the general idea and hope it develops into a book?
Yeah, no, I'm a pantser through and through, really. I could stand outside and it's a nice warm night and say, oh, it's nice and warm. Let's go inside and write something about a nice warm night. And it could be a short story in the end. It could be a novel, when it's a novel, I can tell it's going to be something longer, because it doesn't have to always be a novel either. It could be a novella. I can tell it's going to be something longer if I can figure out the why, like right away. If I can't, it's probably a short story, but I'll take it and see where it goes. I do not plan it out. I really love the whole idea of finding out about the characters, finding out about the story, where people are going, what's going to happen, at the same time that my characters do. So if I do my best not to plan it, to be honest with you.
And what genres are you reading right now for pleasure?
So when I don't write, I try not to read while I'm writing, which is like, do I read anything ever? I do. I do. I usually read thrillers. I am seriously a James Patterson fan. I'm not even playing. I really am. And I am reading. I just am.
You can't say that in an MFA program.
I am reading, actually reading right now I think is the Dexter series, Jack Finney. I'm on book 2. I love the TV show, and I'm just like, I'm going to read these books one of these days, and now I'm reading them. So that's kind of, when I read, I usually read thrillers, and not like, I don't know, not, Jack Finney's funnier than I usually go. He's kind of lighthearted. This is very casual, even though, okay, it's Dexter, but still. It's not, heavy. When I read horror fiction, I read it, but I'll read like one and then I'll move on to something else, because I'm just like, I can't, I don't want to fill my mind with this person's idea. I want to enjoy what they've written and then write something I want to write that's not what they've written. So I usually will listen. I listen to the classics. So the other day I was listening to The Monk by Matthew Lewis, just on an audiobook. And that's kind of like, that's actually how I relax. I'll do a puzzle. I'll listen to something classic, because I can't read it. I just can't, for whatever reason, I cannot read the classic, like open book in hand. For whatever reason, I can't do it. So I'll listen, and that's usually it. I have read recently a few romances, and I think they're pretty cool. I never thought I was going to enjoy a romance, and I've actually been like, well, that's not so bad. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a whole book, I should say. I read the Twilight series before I saw the movies, and I was like, I'm so proud of myself. I actually sat down and read that whole thing, and it was interesting. So yeah, I mean, I try to expand my horizons, but I do always find myself back with thrillers. I do.
So you are the vice president of the Horror Writers Association, and we have, and I voted for you, and we have a question in the chat about that. As a member of HWA, I'm a supporting ally. I haven't sold anything yet to become close to an active member. What would be your advice for a horror writer just starting out?
Keep sending your work. Number 1. Number 2, do not self-reject. Just send it. You want to send it to Magazine of Science, or is it Science Fiction and Fantasy? Send it. You want to send it to Apex? Send it. Nightmare Magazine.
How do you know where to send your stuff, Lisa?
Oh, interestingly enough, I remember way back when there was a page called Rollin,
I love Rollins.
Right?
Web Extravaganza.
Love it. It seems that Submission Grinder is a little more popular now, but Submission Grinder is big, so I would suggest going there. You can just type that in. That's free. Duotrope costs a little bit. Same idea as Submission Grinder. But and I just mentioned a couple that you can write down: Apex, Magazine of Science Fiction and Fantasy, Nightmare Magazine, The Dark. Now, the reason I bring these up are, my Weird Tales, if it come whenever they open back up. Don't self-reject. FIYAH, FIYAH, that's another one. Don't self-reject. Just submit. You don't know what they're going to give you these, submission guidelines. You don't know if your story meets fits what they're looking for or not. You could be right on the nose and never have sold a thing and sell it to the biggest market out there. That's not even a strange thing. It happens all the time. So just shoot high. Now, here's another thing I would say. I would not do the for the love markets anymore. When I say for the love, that is the $0, no pay at all, just for exposure markets. I'm not saying that to say, I don't want to make it sound like I'm saying, oh no, you shouldn't be doing that, because from my perch, I don't think you should be doing that. Listen to me, I subbed to those all the time when I started out. They got me absolutely nowhere. That's why I'm telling you, the exposure is not real. You know what I mean? I don't really think that exposure really is, it's a real thing. Now, that does not mean that you can't, but I'm saying if you want to, if there's a call that they come out with about some sort of Kraken that you want to write about, sure, that's fine. Pick a prompt and write it, submit it, but also submit something to a market that's going to pay you the value that you should be getting paid. So keep at it. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for any of us. I will tell you that. It's just not easy. Even if one sale comes along and it's really easy, that next one won't be. We get rejections all the time. I get rejections all the time. You just have to stop caring about them and move on, because it's part of the game. So know that. Don't self-reject. Keep submitting, and you're going to get rejected, and it's going to be okay.
Lisa, where do you come down on the idea of whether writers should pay a submission fee?
No. Right? Money comes to the writer, not money from the writer to do anything. And again, I've paid submission fees. Listen, I've been publishing since 1998 was my first, listen, I didn't have to add that up, but I did. But yeah, I've been submitting since then. And back then it was like, what's an ebook, right? We've got all sorts of things now, but there was no ebook. There was no, and when the ebooks came out, they were on a CD. Listen, this was like this is like crazy when you think about it. It was so long ago, but we didn't know any better then. And we're just paying this, what sounded like $25 didn't sound like too much. No, that's ridiculous. Are you giving me the whole pot if I win? How do I know you're going to give me the pot if I win? You that's not happening. Even if you know that it does happen, your work should be valued. You should be paid for your words. I would suggest you don't do something like that. So, yeah.
Thank you. I agree. I agree. That's the official MFA position.
Right. Okay. Okay. I was going to say, are we in sync with that? Because I just feel like.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it's weird because, I was just going to say, a lot of students come into the MFA and they might come in, ours is more or less a genre focused program, right? So they might come in from a little bit outside the genre, right? Maybe they have more of a literary background and they're drawn to genre, so they came to us. In the literary world, academic small presses and journals, they do charge a fee, and it's not considered anything unusual. But for those of us, kind of writing in the real world, I think it is unusual, and it should be unusual.
It should be. And I do understand the desire to want to see your work in print or online with a publication. I felt and feel the same way. We all do. That doesn't go away, right? But you have to tell yourself that you are writing these words for a reason, and they are valuable. You should be getting paid for that work. So
Ooh, here's a great question in the chat. Can I submit the same manuscript to several places at the same time? In other words,
Usually not.
Answer that, Lisa.
simultaneous
Usually not.
submissions.
They don't, and they'll tell you that. Here's the key. Let me tell you something. Okay, point number 4 about what you should do moving forward with your submitting. Read the submission guidelines. Like, read them. Most of them are the same, but that'll be the day that you don't read it, and you'll find that you've missed something that you should have seen. Read them. They will tell you whether or not multiple submissions are okay, or simultaneous submissions, or whatever. They'll tell you if that's okay, or if they don't want it. They'll tell you if they're okay with a reprint, or if they don't want it. They'll tell you what the word count is. Like, that's one thing that I know my students, if any of my students are in here, they do not like when I say that. I'm like, you've gone over word count. It's important because some places won't even look at it. They see a file come in and it's over word count. They just toss it. They've never read it, and it reminds me of, like, back in the day, and I do mean back in the day, I mean the late 90s, when a screenplay wasn't submitted online. There was no such thing as Film Freeway. That's not, you printed out your screenplay, you three-hole punched it, and then you stuck these metal brads in between there just to cinch them all to make it like a book. And then you sent that out. If you didn't have gold metal brads, not silver, your screenplay would be thrown in the trash. And doesn't that sound ridiculous? The color of the brad, guess what? We could do nothing about it. If that's what Steven Spielberg wanted, that's what he wanted, right? He doesn't care that you didn't have gold ones. So just like that, you can't go 100, 300, 1,000 words over. You have to adhere to the word count. You can't send your story everywhere. What if they're the ones who are like, give it to me, great, I love it. And you're like, oh, well, let me pull it from these other people. And they're like, keep it. I thought we said no simultaneous submissions. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Just read the submission guidelines. Be clear, be sure you understand them clearly, and then move forward. But keep doing it. Keep doing it.
So why did you decide that you wanted to be the vice president of HWA? I mean, adding another, I imagine there's a lot to do in this position. That's adding even more to your plate, taking time away from your writing. What was it that made you decide to go to run for this position?
Yeah. Well, I've been a member for a lot of years, and I've been a mentor for a lot of years. And I love the organization. It's my professional organization, so I love it and I want to see it succeed. And I think it does a good job. There was an opportunity to jump in, and I have some ideas that I'd like to see come to fruition, for the horror writers in general. So this opportunity showed itself, and I sat and I said, why haven't I thought about running before? Is this a big deal? What's my problem? Why didn't I do it before? Maybe I'll just do it now and not worry about why I didn't do it before. So I thought I can come in and I can do some things, and we'll see how it goes. Because I love the organization, it wouldn't have mattered if I'd won or lost. I was still going to be a mentor. I was still going to do all the things I always do. But now I have the opportunity to see if I can help the writers, with some things that I think that could be tweaked, changed, and modified.
Here's a question about the HWA. Why does the HWA only accept new members in January and February? And I'm a member and I didn't even know that.
No, we don't. We accept all the time.
Oh, okay. Phew.
Yeah. Oh, no, that would be weird. No. We definitely accept all the time.
I was going to ask you something else. What was it? It was the ulterior motive behind my asking you that question in the first place, which was that you're kind of practicing literary citizenship that we talk about as being such an important part of being a writer. And this is a great example of it, right? Here's a super successful writer who's got a lot on her plate, nonetheless feels a kind of a obligation, responsibility, desire to give back, to help other writers, and makes the time for it. I think that's really cool.
I think that ultimately that's when you see people writing, like you see Stephen King wrote his On Writing and Danse Macabre. I mean, that's nonfiction. He was giving back to people at the time because he felt this compulsion to do so. I think that, there's a lot of things we can do that are for our own advancement. And then there are some things that at some point you feel to yourself that let's see if we can get everybody to step up. Let's, move up. Let's move the organization in a different direction. And I don't know, I guess that's where I am now, which is kind of exciting. It's not something I thought about, but it's something that has occurred.
Are there any, I want to just invite people again to type your questions into the chat, and we'll pass them on to Lisa so that she can answer. Lisa, you're sharing an incredible amount of wisdom with us today, and I thank you for that. I'm just typing in an answer to Patricia here.
Well, I'm only seeing if stuff is going like this. I'm not even seeing it every time. I can't read it fast enough.
See, I didn't know this either. I didn't know that SNHU had a horror club.
What? I didn't know that either. Is it a student only, or can I be in the horror club?
That's a good question. It says it's in the, is that in SNHU Connect? Yes, it looks like it is. I guess you could just type in horror.
Okay,
incredible.
I'm gonna have to do that. That would be fun.
Yes. So here's another question. What are the most important things you do to promote yourself, and what is your favorite social platform and why?
That is such a good question. When I was a student here, which I graduated from our MFA program here, which was fantastic. I loved it. I mean, just so exciting. Anyway, I took Gabino Iglesias' class about, social media. He and I have become such good friends since then. And I still kind of text him and say the same thing every few months. I hate social media. That is all. And that's all I say to him. I do, because I don't want to just write the book and go on. You know what I mean? I think a lot of us writers feel the same way. We just want to write the book and move on. But we can't. We have to market ourselves. So what's my favorite? I was just getting into Twitter when Twitter started changing up. I was just getting there. Like I was there, and because I don't want to talk all day, because I don't want to seem disingenuous. I don't want to, if I'm on there all day talking on Facebook, which I use, I'm usually talking to family and friends. I have an author site that I think I neglect. I don't know why I'm not doing as much over there, but I'm not. The talking all day bit, or talking in long spurts, I'm just talking in big batches. That was for friends and family and like old elementary school folks that I'm seeing again, rekindling those relationships. But Twitter was perfect or X, it was perfect because it was like these little snippets of things, and that's it. That was my favorite. I don't know what's happening with Twitter. I don't know what's going on with it. I'm not sure.
A lot of people are still on there. Lots of writers, lots of scientists.
Yeah, and it looks like they were there. They left and went to some other, like 2 other places. One was like Blue Sky, and one was something with an M. But they've come back.
We came back.
And I'm glad I didn't really go anywhere, because I don't know. So I will say that Twitter, because I'm not seeing the stuff that people are looking at. Again, I'm the social media person who's really using it to talk to family and friends, and that's kind of it. I don't see these long conversations or these really just negative interactions that people are getting involved in. And I don't know how I'm missing the hashtag, but I'm happy I am. I do not know what they're talking about, and I don't want to be involved in that. I think that what Gabino taught me was that you have got to pick 1 or 2 or maybe 3 and be consistent on those. You can't do it on every single platform because you're never going to keep up. And that's for sure. I couldn't keep up on, I'd love to do TikTok. So I also hired a virtual assistant, and she doesn't like TikTok. And I'm like, that's not helpful. I should probably be on TikTok, but I'm not going to do it. She's like, yeah, but it's not the best. And I'm like, yeah, I think we have to have another discussion about that, because I think that, right. And I don't know what that means, because for me, TikTok or I don't know, how do I phrase it properly? Marketing doesn't always feel genuine. Now, that does not mean I don't do it, but for me, it doesn't feel that way. I found something I will talk about all the time, and that's movies. Anytime I go to a movie, I never say anything negative about a movie, never, because I'm a filmmaker, I'm a screenwriter. I'm not going to talk negatively about someone's creative work. So, but if I love it, I'll talk about it, and I watch movies every day. So I will talk about it and I'll put a poster up and I'll do it like a marathon of whatever, women in horror for a whole month or whatever. And I'll do that. And that will get people engaged because they can tell I'm being real with them. So if I talk about my book in the middle of that, they're not as irritated. I can't tell if anybody's really irritated, frankly. I just assume they are. But no one seems to be saying anything negative about me talking about a book here and there, but also talking about movies like nonstop.
Well, so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say to pick your thing, right? Pick your place. And for me, that was X, Twitter, whatever. It kind of still is, I guess. But pick your thing and then be good about it, about doing that.
It reminds me of what you were saying earlier about, like, you have to bring your authentic self, your personality has to shine through in your writing. It has to be the driving force behind your writing. And this is similar, right? The way that you market yourself has to be in sync with the person that you are, or else it's going to come across as phony. Right.
I don't want to come across as phony. You know what I mean? I feel like I can't. I try to share the excitement of something going on. So I will, and people who know me know that this is, I mean, you're seeing me now. This is honestly who I am on and off camera. If I'm excited about something, there's much cheering, there's much shouting, there's much arms raised, there's a whole lot of yelling and excitement. And I will put that on social media because something cool happened. And if you choose to buy the book after that happened, then you chose because I was pumped up and I shared how pumped up I was. I don't want to say, here, buy my book. This is, I just. But again, you have to, like you said, Paul, you really got to pick the way that is best for you, but pick a couple places. Like, I don't even understand Pinterest. I don't understand Pinterest. I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure what you're supposed to do on Pinterest. You know what I mean? Like, I've tried. I made like this whole, I don't know, board, wall, whatever, for some book. And I'm like, I don't even think about books like that. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Stop doing it.
Yeah, it's funny though. I mean, a lot of students do use that. They make like mood boards or character boards that I guess are inspiring.
Mary Meyer in the chat says Pinterest is good for storyboarding.
And so maybe because I'm a pantser, this is not good for me because I don't plan my story. Okay, that would make sense as to why it's just not working for me. All right, I'll go with that. See, and you don't have to do everything. So there you go.
Don't you have to storyboard to write a screenplay?
Not at all. Not me, at least. I don't know. I don't. I just go with it. I really believe in, like Melissa was talking about, sit down for 25 minutes and then take a break. I'm not going to time myself. I can't. I did not know that I had this issue with, restrictions and rules and whatever. But apparently, I mean, I will not time myself. I could write for 5 minutes. I could have not written a word, but have been researching for an hour and a half. That was still work. That's still work towards the piece. I don't tell myself when to write. I don't give myself a word count for the day. I just don't do it. I don't do any of that. So therefore, with anything, so if I'm writing a screenplay, like I said, with a novel, I know at some point I know what my why is, and then often what I'll do is I'll write the ending, and then I'll get to the ending somehow, which sometimes I don't. Sometimes I get to a whole different ending, but I will do that and then enjoy the ride. With a screenplay, I may say at some point I'd love to have an explosion. I don't know what I mean by that, right? But I'll just see if I can fit one in somewhere, and I just go with it. But that is a pantser. We really don't.
Hey, Lisa, can I ask a bit of clarification?
Yeah.
When you say you write to a why, or you're thinking about the why, what do you mean?
So like what? So okay, I had a story that I still can't figure out, and I wrote something I think that makes sense, and I'm like, okay, that's probably where I'm going to go with it. I'm letting this one go. There's an idea that like, okay, I'll go outside and I'll see a car. I'll think the car looks nice, and for some reason I'm like, that car is amazing. I'm going to put that car in something, and I'll go sit down and try to write something about the car. within 10 minutes, so what about the car, right? If the car is doing nothing, if it has the driver is doing nothing, if he's going nowhere, he's not a main character, there's no reason for him to have this car, there's no reason for me to care about the car. If I can't figure out why it's important that this car was there, and if there's nothing at all that relates the story to anything else, then it's not important. Now, and then it won't be a novel. And then if I really can't even figure out if I'm trying to make it be like Kit and it's talking, maybe, I don't know. If it's not Kit and it's just sitting there, literally, this is not a story. So I'll stop. Or is it a poem? Could be, I don't know, but maybe it isn't. And that's fair, because sometimes ideas are just, sometimes things are just things, you know what I mean? Sometimes the wind is just the wind, and it's not a ghost standing behind you. So you have to think to yourself, what am I supposed to be doing with this? If you cannot come up with why it's important, it's probably not, for me, it's probably not going to be a longer piece.
That seems so counterintuitive in a way, though, because I think like if I knew the why, I would be able to write the story. It seems like if I knew the why, it would be a short story. I mean, if I knew the why before I wrote it, it would be a short story. But if I didn't know the why and was writing to figure out the why, then it would be a novel, because I wouldn't know until the end what the heck the why was.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, no, not because for me, I have to, okay, so, all right. I wrote the realm, the red one behind me. And the guy wakes up, to put plainly, he wakes up dead, if you will, right? And so the whole story is with him not being alive. And he's got to figure out, what's going on. How is he awake? He shouldn't be, what's going on here. Now, before he can think his thoughts, there's something chasing him. And he finds out right away that he's prey in this new world. And he's got to run. Why? That was my idea. He's prey in the new world. Why? Well, why? And I answered it. And if I had not been able to answer it, that was just a neat idea. But by being able to say, oh, he's prey, he has to run because he needs to save his family. Why does he need to save his family? Well, because he's in this space called the realm, and no, he doesn't want anyone else to be there to come up awaken dead and have to do these things and run from people. But why does anybody care? And I had to keep thinking, what's the why? Now I've got my reason. Now I can write the story, not necessarily from an outline, but a reason for the thing to exist in the first place. So for me, I kind of have to know a little bit, just why, nothing more than that. Just what's the reason? I cut my nail and I pinch the skin. Is that important? Why is that important? Could be.
Does your why ever change as you're writing something? You decide like, oh, you know what? I thought this was important, but it really isn't. Or this thing that didn't seem important actually is super important, and I've got to go back and make some changes.
No, my why never changes. My how changes. So how I get there is important, and it always switches up. Sometimes I miss the mark and I'm not quite where I thought I was going to end up. And I have to decide, well, is that okay? Sure. Usually it is. But the why we're doing this never changes.
Mm-hmm. That's super interesting. Melissa, do you have a relationship with the why of your stories like that?
I have no idea. But I've learned to not second guess myself with it too. That's another thing I want to make clear.
Because that's what works for you.
When you're a pantser, you got to, Go ahead. I'm sorry, Paul.
That's what works for you.
Right. It's what works for me. But when you're a writer, you've got to be sure about your decisions, because other people are always around to ask you, why'd you do that? What's your reason? And pick holes in it. You've got to be certain about your decisions. So for me, if I know what the why is, the how is not the important part. That's the ride. I'll figure it out. But if I don't think the why makes any sense at all, there's just no reason to pursue it. And I have grown to not challenge myself about that. I will say one thing. As we write, I've found it's increasingly important to be comfortable in your own skin. People always say, write what you know, but that would mean a really small bubble of things to write about that every author would be able to write about. Just a very small little area. Write what you know, in my mind, doesn't mean write what you grew up with, write what you live. It means write what you find out about, write what you research about, write what you experience. I always say I write the lived experience. You know, as a human out here in this world, some of us do, almost all of us will do the same things. It doesn't matter where we're coming from. All of us, if we drive, we have to fill that car with gas or, you know, charge it now. One of the two, you've got to make it go in some way. If we eat, we've got to go somewhere to either buy something to cook or buy it, you know, from a store. So these are things that we share in common, and it doesn't matter how we approach that point. We will all end up in the supermarket at the same time, looking at the bread. Like, we just to circle back to where we were about the bread. You end up looking at bread, and it can be anybody looking at bread because it doesn't matter. Now, that's a beautiful horror story there, isn't it? Everyone's in the aisle looking at bread, and something now has happened over 2 aisles over, but you can't escape. Right? And that's where I like to see things center. I don't know anything about the next person looking for bread. All we know is that we're in this supermarket at the same time and something has happened. And now we've got to figure out what to do. So, yeah, that's an idea for anybody who wants to take it.
I was just going to say, I hope you write that one. That really is a cool idea.
Lisa, what is your current favorite psychological horror movie?
Oh, Angel Heart, forever and always. Angel Heart,
Angel
1986.
Wow.
Ah, that's my favorite.
But doesn't that have a supernatural component to it?
Little bit. There's a little added to the end there. But I mean, I really, that's a good one. That's a good one. Gosh, every time I watch it, I learn something new, which is wild because I've seen it a lot of times.
Wow.
Yep. 87. Okay. Yep. You found it. Yep. 87. I was so close. Oh my gosh. How did I come up with that? But yeah, just, oh man, and the book is perfection. I think the book is called Falling Angels. Is that right? With a last name that I don't think I can pronounce. Now you've got me typing in stuff. Falling Angels. Is that right? Okay, now I don't know. But yeah, that's my favorite of all time. Absolutely. Yep. Yes, William. Yeah, I can't pronounce it. H-J-O-R-T-S-B-E-R-G.
Oh, right.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I told you I couldn't pronounce that one. Yeah, but no, and the book, the book is magnificent, first of all. But wow, really, really good.
Question. As a fellow pantser, I have to clean the house until it's perfect in my head before I grab my pen. What do you do to just before you write to get that first line?
Wow, that is. You know what I do? It's funny now. You made me think about it. That is funny. I don't realize. So I used to like a clean sheet of paper. You know what I mean? Like nothing on it, and I would rub my hands on it. Now, of course, we're not doing that. It's all computer screens. I find myself just sort of staring at it like this. I'm not thinking anything. I'm just looking at it, like look at it, and then I'll start typing. I don't know. It's weird, but I do it every time, and I did not realize that until just now. But I definitely used to like rub my notebook and just look at it like this is pristine, it's gorgeous, and then I would just start writing. Oh my gosh, what a weird thing to like actually admit, but yeah, it's true.
I mean, everybody has these weird little personal rituals about writing, I think.
My handwriting is atrocious. I think I saw somebody pop up and say something about they still handwrite. Oh, it's so bad. I mean, I can do it, but it ends up like I type so much that it just doesn't look right after a while, and holding the pen always creases my finger, and it's ugly handwriting now. So not as much anymore, but yeah, I used to love that.
Oh, here's a great question. Monica asks, is it important for a non-writer who is curious about writing to first start writing or first take courses and learn proper techniques?
You know what? Wow, that's a good question.
Isn't that a great question?
As an instructor here, I would say definitely take courses, but to say that's one answer we'll put right there. To be honest, writing is a feeling. You do not need to take a course to learn how to feel. You can take a course to learn how to hone your skills, but you start writing when you feel whatever it is. So no, you don't have to begin with courses. The courses will help you get better in expressing whatever that is. But start writing regardless of a course. That's my honest answer.
I love that
Yeah.
that Amy is like taking these nuggets of wisdom that you're dropping on us and typing them into the chat. They're really fantastic.
Awesome.
We're gonna
Wow.
compile them into an ebook later. No, I'm kidding, but
Well,
honestly,
send them
they
good
really
ones
are
to me, though.
fantastic.
Because in snippets, that can sound really good. I'm telling you, when you take the whole thing, it probably sounds horrible. But in snippets, it might be like.
No, you are so made for Twitter. Come back to Twitter.
I'm still there. I'm still doing it.
Let's just take it over.
People are so irritated with Twitter, and I never got into Instagram really. I have a page, but like, I just, you know what I mean? And this is ridiculous. And I whine, like I said, I whine about this all the time. I just want to write the words. Okay. If I get a really cool book cover, I just want to be like, oh, look, that's what I want to do. Let's talk about a movie. That's what I want to do. I know that that's not the way to do it. I recognize that. But I still want to make sure that my personality shines through, because it's funny. People who meet me are like, you write psychological horror. And I'm like, well, all right. Yes. Because if you meet me first, you're surprised. If you read me first, then you meet me, you're like, is this the same person? I'm like, look in the back, it's me, and I want my personality to show in whatever I'm using for marketing. I don't want to be, because I'm not going to ever, if you thought I was a certain way, I likely am not going to embody that, based upon, it's just not me. So I kind of want you to know like who I am, and then have a good time with it. And because that to me is kind of funny, that I'm actually this bouncy person all the time, and I write some scary stuff. It's hilarious to me. So yeah, I don't know. But I'm still on X, Twitter, whatever the heck it's called. I try.
Here's an observation from someone in the chat, from Christine. As someone who spends a lot of time in the horror community, I find that the majority of horror creators are super friendly and lighthearted.
Yeah, we are. It's really funny. I've started going to a couple of like science fiction conventions, not on purpose either. I'm like hanging out with a friend, and this is where they were going to be. So I'll take a panel and I'll do this. And I end up there, and I'm watching people are dressed up. And some of these, like, I was in the elevator with an elf who had red eyes. Like, she was like, it was a little scary. And I turned to my friend when she got off the elevator, of course. I'm like, what was that about? Why is she red-eyed? There's some war going on between, I don't know what she's talking about. Listen, I don't read that, right? But there's a war, and the elves are warring with each other, these factions of whatever. And I looked at her and I said, you see, we don't do this stuff in the horror community. We're not dressed up like that all the time, having a battle in the middle of the hallway. I went in the hallway. There was a warlock fighting somebody. And I just stood there like, what? I need to get to my panel on the other side of this. How long is this going to be? And I'm just like, we're not, sometimes you see like Jason Voorhees walking around. Okay. But not often. Often it's just us laughing and joking with each other. And there's so much hugging. Like, we're not, I don't know. That's probably a little scary when you think about it.
Wait. So you're not dressing up for StokerCon?
No, not like that.
I have no idea.
No. I'm going to we don't normally. So I'm going to the StokerCon, the banquet, and we call it our prom. It's our prom, the horror prom. But that doesn't mean, like, none of us have dressed like Elvira. I've never seen that. Like, I'm literally wearing a gown. It's going to be a gown. So, no, I'm not.
Well, on that note, we've reached our cutoff point at 9 o'clock. I want to thank Lisa so much, and thank you as well, Melissa, and thank everyone who came today. And like I said, Lisa will be compiling all your nuggets of wisdom and issuing them at some point, I'm sure.
You definitely have to show me that because,
Yeah.
I have got to see these moments.
No, we'll capture them and make sure you see them for sure.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. This was a great conversation.
Everybody.